Did you know that silence isn't the absence of sound? It's the absence of sounds you can hear? That right now, invisible acoustic waves are passing through your body, vibrating organs, disrupting thought, capable of liquefying tissue and shattering bone. Sound isn't just what you hear. It's pressure. It's force. It's a weapon that can kill without ever being seen. Today, I'll reveal the 15 most dangerous sounds in existence. Frequencies that make your eyeballs vibrate until you go blind. Acoustic weapons that turn organs to jelly. Natural phenomena that generate pressure waves capable of circling the Earth 7 times. From military experiments to ocean creatures that hunt with sonic shock waves. From frequencies that cause instant loss of bodily control to sounds so loud they literally tear the air apart. The most disturbing part? Number 1 is a sound humanity created. A frequency so catastrophically powerful that it registered on seismographs worldwide and proved we'd learned to weaponize physics itself at scales nature never intended. Stay to the end, because the loudest sound ever recorded wasn't just heard. It was felt across continents, and it came from an explosion that taught us what happens when sound becomes apocalypse. Let's begin. Number 15. The Aztec Death Whistle. Imagine standing on an Aztec battlefield when suddenly the air fills with a sound like 1,000 souls screaming in agony. Not music, not language. Pure terror given voice. A shriek that stops blood in veins, that triggers every primal instinct evolution coded into human neurology. That's the Aztec death whistle. A small clay instrument that ancient warriors blew before battle to paralyze enemies with fear so visceral it feels like dying. The whistle measures 5 to 8 centimeters, shaped like a skull with internal chambers creating complex acoustic turbulence. When blown, it produces 100 to 110 decibels, as loud as a chainsaw. But what makes it devastating isn't volume. It's the frequency spectrum between 500 and 5,000 hertz that the human auditory cortex interprets as screaming. Brain imaging shows hearing the death whistle activates the amygdala before conscious thought can process what's happening. The Aztecs understood acoustic warfare 5 centuries before modern militaries. Spanish conquistador accounts describe the screaming that preceded attacks, a sound so horrifying that horses bolted and soldiers froze. Hundreds of warriors would blow them simultaneously, creating a wall of overlapping shrieks that made it impossible to locate individual attackers. Modern studies reveal why it's effective. The human brain evolved to recognize screams as danger signals. The death whistle hijacks that evolutionary programming, flooding the nervous system with cortisol and adrenaline before rational thought can intervene. That's the Aztec death whistle, ancient acoustic weapon, proof that sound can make you feel terror before your mind understands why. Number 14. The hum. In Taos, New Mexico, Bristol, England, and dozens of other locations worldwide, approximately 2 to 4% of the population hears something that shouldn't exist. A persistent, low-frequency hum around 50 to 80 hertz that never stops. Like an idling diesel engine in the distance, present day and night, driving some to madness. Scientists can't find the source. Acoustic engineers can't measure it consistently. Yet thousands insist it's real, destroying sleep, concentration, and sanity. Investigations using sensitive acoustic equipment found nothing conclusive. Yet, hum hearers describe identical symptoms: persistent droning, worse at night, increasing indoors, accompanied by pressure in ears, headaches, dizziness, and sleep disturbance. The phenomenon is geographically clustered: Bristol, Windsor, Auckland, Bondi, yet acoustic surveys find no consistent external source. For those who hear it, the hum becomes torture. Earplugs don't help. Some say it gets louder when ambient noise is blocked. There's no escape, no cure, no reliable treatment. The most alarming aspect? Some hum cases correlate with industrial activity, natural gas extraction, military installations, wind farms. But proving causation requires admitting these operations produce infrasound that affects human physiology. That's the hum, a sound that might not exist or might be everywhere, destroying lives and frequencies science struggles to measure. Number 13. The brown note. Urban legend claims there's a frequency around 5 to 9 Hz that causes immediate involuntary defecation. The brown note supposedly resonates with the human intestinal system, vibrating bowels until sphincter control fails. It sounds ridiculous, but the underlying science of resonance frequency and organ vibration is terrifyingly real. The concept emerged from legitimate acoustic research into infrasound, frequencies below 20 Hz that humans cannot consciously hear but physically feel. NASA studies documented astronauts experiencing vision disturbances and disorientation from rocket-generated infrasound around 18 to 20 Hz, frequencies that made their eyeballs vibrate. The human body is a collection of resonant chambers. The chest cavity resonates around 4 to 8 Hz. Internal organs each have natural frequencies where they vibrate sympathetically when exposed to matching sound waves. Whether or not a single magic frequency triggers instant defecation, powerful low-frequency sound can disrupt organ function and cause loss of bodily control. Wind turbine syndrome documents digestive disturbance in people living near wind farms. Concertgoers at bass-heavy shows report nausea and chest pressure, symptoms of infrasound exposure. Military researchers have experimented with acoustic weapons specifically targeting human disorientation through resonance frequencies. That's the brown note, part legend, part physics. Entirely disturbing reminder that your organs are instruments waiting to be played. Number 12. Sonic booms at close range. A sonic boom sounds like distant thunder when a jet breaks the sound barrier miles above you. But at close range, when the aircraft passes at low altitude, that boom transforms into acoustic violence, shattering windows, triggering car alarms, and disrupting neural function. At sufficient intensity, it can rupture eardrums and internal organs. A sonic boom occurs when an object exceeds the speed of sound, creating a shock wave where pressure changes happen faster than air molecules can move. The pressure differential can reach 200 pascals at close range, equivalent to standing beside an explosion. Military pilots during the Cold War occasionally performed unauthorized low-altitude supersonic passes. Medical reports from people caught beneath documented burst blood vessels, instant severe disorientation, and in rare cases, temporary paralysis. One farmer in Nebraska suffered a fatal heart attack moments after an F-4 Phantom performed a supersonic pass at approximately 300 meters altitude. The most alarming aspect is that sonic booms are invisible, require no ammunition, leave no chemical trace, and the aircraft can be gone before you understand what happened. That's the sonic boom at close range. Physics made weapon, pressure made violence. Number 11. The 52 Hertz Whale. In the North Pacific depths, a single whale sings at approximately 52 Hertz, dramatically higher than the 15 to 25 Hertz of typical blue and fin whales. Marine biologists have tracked this voice since 1989, watching it migrate alone through thousands of miles. They call it the loneliest whale because no other whale responds to its song. That whale might be singing its heart out, sending mating calls and distress signals, yet living in total acoustic isolation, unable to communicate with its own species. Whale song operates at specific frequencies, evolved to travel thousands of kilometers. The 52 Hertz whale sings at a frequency too high for other whales to recognize. Acoustic analysis shows the song has the structure of whale vocalizations, but broadcast in the wrong frequency, like shouting in a language no one speaks. Tracking data suggests it's a single individual, always alone, migrating through known whale populations without joining them. Hydrophone recordings capture its voice growing fainter as it ages. 30-plus years of calling into silence. The most heartbreaking element? Whale songs are learned, passed down through generations, refined through social interaction. A whale singing at 52 Hertz has no one to learn from, no one to teach, no acoustic community. That's the 52 Hertz whale. Not a sound that destroys through violence, but through isolation. Proof that acoustic exile can be a fate worse than silence. Number 10. The LRAD, Long-Range Acoustic Device. Picture a sound weapon mounted on a military vehicle, capable of projecting a focused beam of sound at 150 decibels up to 500 meters away. The long-range acoustic device is deployed by police and military worldwide. The official purpose? Crowd control? The actual effect? Instant, debilitating pain. Disorientation so severe people collapse. Permanent hearing damage. The LRAD uses acoustic beamforming, phased speakers creating directional sound, focused like a flashlight. At optimal range, sound pressure reaches 145 to 150 decibels, comparable to standing on an aircraft carrier during jet takeoff. It operates in two modes, voice communication and deterrent mode, which emits a piercing 2,100 to 3,100 Hertz tone designed to cause maximum pain. The pain isn't just volume, it's frequency selection. Humans are most sensitive to sounds between 2,000 and 5,000 Hertz. The LRAD exploits this sensitivity. Victims describe the sensation as having their head split open. Nausea is immediate. Balance fails. The only instinct is escape. Permanent hearing damage begins at 120 decibels. The LRAD exceeds this. Incidents in Pittsburgh, New York, and elsewhere show people suffering ruptured eardrums and permanent tinnitus from LRAD exposure. The most chilling aspect? The LRAD isn't classified as a weapon. It's a communications device, allowing deployment under looser regulations than firearms. That's the LRAD. Sound weaponized, pain-focused. Number 9. Hypercavitation. The pistol shrimp barely 5 centimeters long, has evolved the ability to create a sonic weapon more powerful than a gunshot. The shrimp snaps its oversized claw shut at speeds exceeding 100 kilometers per hour, creating a cavitation bubble. When that bubble collapses microseconds later, it produces a shock wave reaching 218 decibels and temperatures of 4,700 degrees Celsius, nearly as hot as the sun's surface. That collapsing bubble is lethal to small fish and capable of shattering glass. When the claw snaps shut, it creates a high-velocity water jet that reduces pressure so dramatically that dissolved gases form a vapor bubble. The bubble expands, then collapses with such violence that it generates extreme heat, light, and a shock wave at supersonic speed. The sound measures 218 decibels in water, louder than a gunshot. The shrimp uses this acoustic weapon to hunt, stunning or killing prey. Colonies create so much noise that submarines have used their collective snapping as acoustic camouflage. What makes hypercavitation disturbing is that humans have weaponized it. Supercavitating torpedoes travel underwater at speeds exceeding 370 kilometers per hour, and experimental acoustic cavitation weapons aim to create focused cavitation bubbles in human tissue. That's hypercavitation, a tiny shrimp's murder bubble, physics at its most violent. Number 8. The Helmholtz resonance of the human skull. Your skull has a resonant frequency, approximately 100 to 130 Hz, where acoustic energy amplifies catastrophically, turning your head into a vibrating echo chamber. At this frequency, sound locks into your skeletal structure and builds, creating pressure waves that compress brain tissue, disrupt neural firing, and in extreme cases, cause hemorrhaging. When sound at the right frequency enters through bone conduction, the cranium begins vibrating at increasing amplitude, transmitting those vibrations into brain tissue. Military experiments in the 1960s through 70s tested acoustic weapons targeting this frequency. Test subjects exposed to 100 to 130 Hz at 120 to 130 decibels reported instant severe headaches, vision distortion, inability to maintain balance, and complete cognitive disruption. At higher intensities, animal testing revealed acoustic trauma, bleeding in brain tissue. Everyday exposure can trigger this effect. Heavy industrial machinery, vehicle engines, wind turbine infrasound, all can generate frequencies near the skull's resonant range. Workers report chronic headaches and neurological symptoms that disappear when removed from the sound source. The most disturbing application? Sonic weapons designed to exploit skull resonance for crowd control. Directional speakers can target individuals with focused sound, causing instant incapacitation without visible evidence. That's Helmholtz resonance of the human skull, physics using your own bones against you. Number 7. The bloop. In 1997, underwater microphones across the Pacific detected something impossible: an ultra-low-frequency sound, rising rapidly in pitch over 1 minute, loud enough to be detected by sensors 5,000 kilometers apart. The sound was organic. It had the acoustic signature of biological vocalization, but the volume suggested a source far larger than any known creature. The recording remains eerie, pitched up so humans can hear it, The bloop sounds like deep, resonant groaning that rises in frequency. The original sound measured 20 to 30 hertz. The intensity suggested a source size far exceeding the blue whale. Acoustic analysis estimated the source would need to be several times larger than the biggest blue whale ever measured. In 2005, NOAA attributed the bloop to ice quakes, ice breaking from Antarctic glaciers. But the explanation satisfied few people. Icequake recordings don't perfectly match the bloop's acoustic signature. And if it was an icequake, why hasn't the sound been detected again despite continuous monitoring? The ocean is full of unexplained sounds. The upsweep, the Julia, the whistle. Dozens of recordings that don't match any known source. That's the bloop. Possibly ice. Possibly something else. Definitely proof that the ocean keeps secrets in sound. Number 6. The mosquito device. Imagine a device emitting a 17.5 kilohertz tone that young people find physically painful, but that adults over 25 cannot hear. Age-related hearing loss affects high frequencies first, creating an acoustic weapon targeting teenagers while leaving older people unaffected. This is the mosquito, installed outside businesses worldwide to disperse loitering youth. The mosquito operates on presbycusis, age-related hearing loss. By age 25, most people's upper hearing limit has dropped to 16 to 17 kilohertz. The mosquito broadcasts at 17.5 kilohertz, a frequency that penetrates young people's hearing perfectly, but exists in silence for adults. Young people describe the sound as intensely irritating. After 5 to 10 minutes, the discomfort becomes unbearable. The device was developed in Wales in 2005. Thousands have been installed outside shops and transit stations. The intentional infliction of discomfort on minors raises profound questions. Is it ethical to use a sound weapon on children? If adults cannot hear the sound, how can they regulate its use? Teenagers reverse-engineered the concept, creating phone ringtones at 17 kilohertz that adults cannot hear, allowing them to receive messages in class without teachers detecting the sound. That's the mosquito device, generational acoustic weapon, proof that if you can't hear the oppression, it's easier to pretend it's not real. Number 5. The Silent Sound Spread Spectrum, SQUAD. In 1991, during Operation Desert Storm, Iraqi troops surrendered in unprecedented numbers, entire battalions walking out with hands raised, some reportedly weeping, without coalition forces firing a shot. Persistent rumors claim another weapon was deployed, the Silent Sound Spread Spectrum, or SQUAD, a classified acoustic technology that broadcasts voices directly into the human skull, inducing emotional states and breaking down psychological resistance without the target consciously hearing anything. The technology allegedly works through heterodyning, mixing two high-frequency ultrasound waves that are individually inaudible but interact in the ear canal to produce a difference frequency that the brain interprets as sound. This bypasses normal hearing. The sound is generated inside your head. The patent exists. U.S. Patent 5,159,703, describing methods for transmitting sound through carrier waves that influence emotional and psychological states without conscious perception. The patent explicitly describes broadcasting messages, words, emotional tones, subliminal suggestions, directly into people's auditory cortex. In theory, you could hear a voice inside your head telling you to surrender without knowing where it came from, or that you're hearing it. Iraqi soldiers interviewed afterward described hearing voices, feeling overwhelming despair, sensing that resistance was hopeless, symptoms consistent with both severe psychological stress and external influence. That's the silent sound spread spectrum, possibly real, possibly legend, definitely terrifying whether it exists or not. Number 4. The Tunguska Event's acoustic shockwave. On June 30th, 1908, something exploded above Siberia with a force of 10 to 15 megatons, roughly 1,000 times more powerful than Hiroshima. The explosion flattened 2,000 square kilometers of forest. No crater was left, and the sound, the acoustic shockwave, traveled around the world twice. Registered on barographs in Britain and reportedly knocked people 650 kilometers away off their feet. Seismic stations worldwide recorded pressure waves that circled Earth's atmosphere multiple times over several days. Witnesses 65 kilometers from the epicenter reported hearing a sound like distant artillery, followed by a pressure wave that shattered windows. Those closer described it as a physical wall of air that hit before hearing registered. The explosion occurred 5 to 10 kilometers above ground, likely an asteroid fragment that disintegrated explosively before impact. The acoustic component was estimated at over 300 decibels at the epicenter, far beyond lethal levels. Tunguska scale events occur approximately every 200 to 1,000 years. We happen to have one in an uninhabited region. A similar event over a populated area would kill millions, not primarily from heat or impact, but from the acoustic shockwave that would collapse lungs and rupture organs kilometers away. That's Tunguska, proof that when nature wants to demonstrate acoustic violence, human weapons are toys by comparison. Number 3. The active denial system. The U.S. military developed a weapon that projects an invisible beam of millimeter wave energy, causing instant, unbearable pain without warning or visible effect. The active denial system isn't technically sound, it's electromagnetic energy at 95 gigahertz, but its effects represent the future of non-lethal warfare, where suffering is inflicted without evidence. The system emits millimeter waves that penetrate skin to 0.4 millimeters.
Here to test out its effectiveness and safety, including the Assistant Commandant of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major,
stimulating pain receptors without causing burns. The beam heats skin to 130 degrees Fahrenheit within 2 to 3 seconds. Subjects describe it as being inside a microwave. The pain is instant and overwhelming. And the moment you move out of the beam, the pain stops, teaching your nervous system that obedience equals relief. Volunteers who agreed to be exposed reported pain so severe that no willpower could make them remain in the beam. Average exposure before subjects fled, 3 seconds. Yet physical examination showed no burns, no tissue damage, which is precisely the point. A weapon that causes agony but leaves no evidence is the perfect crowd control tool. The system was deployed to Afghanistan in 2010, but never used in combat. The system was returned to the U.S., but the technology exists, And you can be certain that every military power is developing similar systems. That's the active denial system, invisible attack, undeniable agony. Number 2. The infrasound of wind turbines. They rise like monuments to sustainable energy. White towers 80 to 100 meters tall, generating clean electricity. Beautiful, modern, green. Except they produce infrasound, frequencies below 20 Hz that you cannot consciously hear, but that your body feels, that penetrates buildings and causes documented health effects. Sleep disturbance, nausea, headaches, anxiety, cardiac arrhythmia. Symptoms so consistent, they've been named wind turbine syndrome. Large wind turbines generate infrasound spanning 1 to 20 Hz, peaking around 8 Hz, precisely where human organ systems are most susceptible to resonance. Studies measure infrasound levels of 50 to 70 decibels at distances up to 2 kilometers. Human physiology responds to infrasound regardless of conscious perception. Continuous exposure creates chronic autonomic arousal, the body constantly detecting a low-level threat. The result? Degraded sleep, elevated cortisol, increased blood pressure, anxiety disorders. Residents near turbine installations report strikingly similar symptoms regardless of location. They feel chest pressure, especially at night. They wake frequently, feeling uneasy. Some families abandon homes because living there became unbearable. Yet acoustic surveys show no harmful noise because they measure audible sound, not infrasound. The energy industry funds studies concluding wind turbine syndrome is psychosomatic. But independent research consistently documents physiological effects. That's wind turbine infrasound, green energy's dark frequency. Number 1. The Tsar Bomba. On October 30th, 1961, the Soviet Union detonated the most powerful nuclear weapon ever created. The Tsar Bomba exploded with a yield of 50 megatons, more than all explosives used in World War II combined. The fireball reached 8 kilometers in diameter. The mushroom cloud rose 64 kilometers into the stratosphere. And the sound, the acoustic shock wave, circled the Earth 3 times, registered on seismographs worldwide, and measured approximately 224 decibels at the explosion site.
Полевой столб, поднимающийся с земли, быстро увеличился в объеме. Через несколько секунд после взрыва.
At that intensity, sound doesn't just damage hearing or rupture organs. It tears molecules apart. The blast wave flattened buildings 55 kilometers away. Windows shattered 900 kilometers away in Finland. The acoustic shock wave was detectable as far away as Australia and Antarctica. Barographs in New Zealand recorded the pressure wave arriving hours later, still measurable, still proof that humanity had created sound loud enough to make the atmosphere ring like a struck bell. To understand 224 decibels, every 10 decibel increase represents a 10-fold increase in intensity. A jet engine is 140 decibels. The threshold where sound becomes a shock wave occurs around 194 decibels. The Tsar Bomba exceeded that by 30 decibels, 1,000 times more intense than the threshold where sound stops behaving like sound. At that intensity, air molecules don't vibrate. They're ripped apart. Anyone within 100 kilometers would have suffered immediate catastrophic hearing loss, ruptured lungs, cardiac arrest from pressure trauma. What's most chilling? The Tsar Bomba was tested at half its designed yield. The Soviets initially planned a 100-megaton version, but reduced it out of concern that the explosion might ignite the atmosphere. They created the loudest sound in human history while showing restraint. That's the Tsar Bomba, the loudest sound humanity has ever created. The acoustic signature of apocalypse, proof that the most dangerous sound is the realization that we've achieved the power to weaponize physics at scales where sound itself becomes the end of the world. 15 sounds, from the primal terror of the Aztec death whistle to the apocalyptic fury of the Tsar Bomba. Frequencies that exploit evolution's vulnerabilities. Acoustic weapons that make your body betray you. Natural phenomena that prove nature's sounds can dwarf anything humans create. What's most unsettling isn't that these sounds exist. It's that most operate in frequencies we barely perceive, affecting us in ways we cannot consciously detect, destroying us with waves we cannot see. Sound isn't just what you hear. It's pressure, force, physics, and power. Perhaps the real question isn't which sound is most dangerous, but what it means that we've weaponized every frequency, from infrasound to ultrasound, from the pain frequencies of crowd control to the world-ending roar of nuclear fire. If this exploration of acoustic violence resonated with you, leave a comment telling me which sound you found most disturbing. Subscribe and hit the notification bell, because the physics of destruction has many more chapters. Thank you for listening. Stay aware. And remember, the most dangerous sounds are the ones you don't hear until it's too late.